I thought it would be valuable for us just to have a quick look at what the MCP server can do if you are managing an environment. So what we're looking at here is Claude Desktop as a client, and this Claude Desktop is connected to the Teradata MCP server. I can see that because if I come down here and I look, I can see all of the different tools that are available. And you'll notice that I've turned some of the tools off because they're not tools that I'm going to use today. And similarly, that you will also notice that if you come here, you come down to the Teradata MCP server and you have access to all of the predetermined prompts, and we'll talk about these prompts in a moment. So what is interesting for us to do is do something simple like, what databases do I have? And when you look at that, what you're actually going to see is the system is going to go and call this get database list tool. This get database list tool is going to come back with a response, a JSON response, and then the client itself is going to take that JSON response and formulate it into a consumable output for the user. And this is kind of interesting because really what you're seeing is you're seeing a client having the ability to inject context, being the 48 database name information, into the prompt of the agent, and then the agent is able to give an answer. And this is kind of interesting when you think about it in its simplest form. You can ask questions that could be leveraging any one of these 30 tools that we've given you access to. But where it becomes, in my mind, really exciting is when you start to think about how could I build tools that work together. And what we really wanted to do with the prompts is use the prompts to be able to help with that. So as an example, if I wanted to understand, what tables should I archive, I can take this table archive prompt, and here's the actual prompt. And you can see with this prompt, what it's going to do is it's going to get a list of the 10 largest tables. It's then going to go through and it's going to generate a script that will allow me to do the archiving. So if I ran this, you will see in this particular case that we are going through and it's using the table space to find out all of the tables. It will then figure out which are the largest tables. It will then go through and start to get the DDL of each of the largest tables, because if you are going to create a script that would archive data out of the largest tables into a history table, which is what this is going to generate for us, then you need to understand what the structure of the initial table is. And you can see that it's running through and it's doing that for all the 10 largest tables. And you'll see in a moment, it will start to actually then generate the code that will become our script. So, and you'll notice that as it goes through, that some of the tables it's decided are not suitable. And one thing that is kind of interesting is when you look at what this is actually doing from a perspective, this client is generating the SQL, and it's pretty simple SQL in this particular case. So the other pieces that I think is kind of really worth looking at is just very quickly, I'm not going to run these in real time, but we've got a script here that does a data quality assessment. In that particular case, the data quality assessment can generate a dashboard that looks at each of the tables and the statistics around the tables. We have similarly the ability to look at lineage. So I can point it at a database, and it will go and look at all the SQL that is executed against the database, and it'll build out a directed lineage map for a database. I can go and if I don't understand what data I have, I can ask it to give me a business description of all the tables in the database and then give me a description of what the database is. So really good for populating a meta store. And if I wanted to have a look at just the general performance of my database in general, my Teradata environment, I also have the ability to do something like a Teradata system dashboard. So in this particular case, it's giving me database utilization, CPU utilization, it's giving me a CPU heat map, and it's giving me, where my tables are kind of operating. So lots of exciting things that we can do with this MCP server, just managing your environment.